To step onto Japanese soil is to straddle 2 millennia at once. One foot stands in the blinding LED future, while the other remains rooted in the hallowed shadows of the ancient world. Here, you do not travel through space, but through eras, rocketing on Shinkansen bullet trains. That slice through mountains still guarded by silent Shinto shrines. This is a civilization paralyzed by an obsession with perfection, a discipline visible in the terrifying razor edge of a samurai sword, and the agonizingly slow grace of a traditional tea ceremony. Its cuisine is less about sustenance and more about high-stakes performance art. From sushi masters who spend decades learning to slice with surgical precision, to the chaotic, steamy soul of a late-night ramen bar that demands to be slurped loudly. It is a land that weaponizes beauty, overwhelming the senses. When the brutalist concrete of its metropolises is suddenly drowned in a soft, fleeting explosion of cherry blossoms. Behind the sliding rice paper doors, an enigmatic world thrives, hiding the guarded secrets of the geisha districts and a deeply rooted belief that spirits inhabit every corner of the natural world. Japan challenges you to find stillness in the center of the world's busiest crossing and discovers profound complexity in a single bowl of rice. The secluded mountain village of Ogimachi in Gifu Prefecture houses a living community of over 100 traditional structures, creating a pastoral scene that feels completely frozen in time. Global recognition arrived in 1995 when the site, alongside Gokoyama in Toyama, was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its unspoiled historic beauty. The defining architectural style is known as Gasho Zukuri, a unique method involving massive wooden beams joined to form steep, thatched roofs capable of withstanding heavy snowfall. Etymology traces this name to the Japanese word for prayer, as the triangular silhouette of the roofs resembles 2 hands pressed together in spiritual supplication. Travellers seeking complete immersion can actually book an overnight stay in select farmhouses, sleeping under the ancient beams just as locals have done for centuries. Seasonal changes paint the village in distinct palettes, ranging from the delicate pinks of spring cherry blossoms to the stark, monochrome beauty of heavy winter snow. Respect remains the most crucial rule here, as the village is not a theme park, but a functioning home to around 700 residents who still live within these heritage sites. Photography requires careful attention to signage, distinguishing between public museums and the private sanctuaries of the families who work tirelessly to maintain this legacy. Fire represents the greatest existential threat to these wooden wonders, leading to strict prohibitions on open flames and a community-wide dedication to disaster prevention. November brings a spectacular visual event in the form of a massive water discharge drill, where water cannons arch over the thatched roofs to test the village's defences against the flames. Before we head to the next spot, here's a fun question. The atomic bombing of Hiroshima occurred in which year? Comment your answer. The kinetic heart of Tokyo beats strongest at the Shibuya Crossing, an iconic landmark where upwards of 1,000 people simultaneously navigate a multi-cornered intersection without a single collision. History traces this phenomenon back to 1885 with the opening of Shibuya Station, a transportation hub that eventually necessitated this massive pedestrian management system to handle the swelling crowds. The sheer spectacle of organised chaos has transformed the intersection into a global symbol of Japan's urban dynamism, serving as the backdrop for countless films, music videos, and news broadcasts. Visitors eager to immerse themselves in the action often start at the station exit and surge forward toward Shibuya Center Gai, a vibrant street packed with hundreds of shops, bars, and restaurants. A bird's eye perspective is highly coveted here, with the Starbucks overlooking the junction, serving as a classic observation deck for snapping photos of the pedestrian horde below. Rush hour on weekdays, specifically between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m, offers the most dramatic photographic opportunities as the crowds swell to their absolute maximum. Statistics suggest that at peak times, nearly 2,500 people flood the asphalt every 2 minutes, meaning up to 70,000 individuals cross this single patch of ground every hour. The unique scramble style defines the rhythm of the area, stopping all vehicular traffic simultaneously, to allow a mesmerising diagonal flow of humanity from every direction at once. A thorough visit usually requires 30 minutes to an hour, allowing enough time to watch several light cycles and visit the nearby bronze statue of the loyal dog Hachiko. Newer vantage points have also emerged, such as the 8th floor rooftop of the Magnet Shopping Mall, offering a fresh, open-air angle on the mesmerising human tide below. If you're watching this, please click the subscribe button in the corner of the screen. It's completely free, but it means a lot to us. Japan's highest peak stands at an impressive 3,776 metres as a nearly perfectly shaped active volcano, revered worldwide as the sacred symbol of the nation. The majestic cone straddles the border between Yamanashi and Shizuoka prefectures, remaining dormant since its last major eruption in 1707, yet still officially classified as active. Spiritual devotion to the mountain runs deep in Japanese history, exemplified by the ascetic Hasegawa Kakugyo, who legend says summited the peak over 100 times in the 16th century. His extreme dedication inspired the formation of the Fuji-ko, a fanatical sect of worshippers, who constructed shrines and rock monuments until the Tokugawa shogunate eventually banned their practices. Modern travellers often catch their first glimpse of the icon from the Tokaido Shinkansen, specifically by looking out the right-hand windows around Shin Fuji Station, roughly 45 minutes out of Tokyo. Visibility remains notoriously fickle due to cloud cover, meaning that catching a clear, unobstructed view of the summit requires a significant amount of luck and timing. The colder months of the year offer the highest probability of clear skies, while early mornings and late evenings generally provide better visibility than the hazy midday hours. Nature lovers seeking a more leisurely experience should head to the Fuji Five-Lake region at the northern foot, or the nearby hot spring resort of Hakone for postcard-perfect backdrops. Countless artists and common people throughout the centuries have immortalised the mountain's symmetry in woodblock prints and paintings, cementing its status as a cultural muse. Adventurous souls wishing to stand on the summit itself must plan their trip for July and August. the only months when the mountain is officially open for climbing via its designated routes. Would you choose to climb this mountain in winter or summer? The ancient volcanic eruptions of Mount Fuji created the unique foundation for Aokigahara Jukai, a 13 square mile expanse of greenery famously known as the Sea of Trees. Hardened lava beneath the surface prevents roots from penetrating deep into the earth, forcing them to snake across the forest floor in a moss-covered tangle that appears almost unearthly. The nutrient-rich volcanic soil supports a canopy so dense that it blocks out the wind and sun, creating a vacuum of silence where the usual sounds of birds and wildlife are strangely absent. This eerie, unnatural quiet has fueled centuries of local folklore regarding demons and spirits. Though the forest is more infamously known globally by its tragic moniker, the Suicide Forest. Local authorities have placed poignant signs throughout the entrances to combat this grim legacy, encouraging those in distress to think of their families and reach out for mental health support. Volunteer groups and community patrols regularly sweep the area to discourage self-harm, battling a reputation that has been unfortunately sensationalized by international films and literature. Japan's specific cultural context regarding suicide has contributed to the complexity of the issue. Yet the site remains a place of profound natural beauty for those who look beyond the stigma. Seasonal shifts transform the landscape dramatically, offering deep green tunnels in summer, and a striking contrast between fiery autumn leaves and black lava rock in the fall, providing nature photographers with a hauntingly beautiful subject that feels completely detached from the modern world. Travellers are strictly advised to stay on the designated paths during their visit, a rule meant to protect the fragile ecosystem and show respect for the heavy emotional history held within these trees. The quiet village of Sagano on the western outskirts of Kyoto shelters one of the city's most surreal natural wonders, the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. This dense emerald tunnel offers a short yet profoundly immersive journey, where the sun's rays filter through the towering stalks to create a dazzling, dappled light show on the forest floor. The most atmospheric approach begins at the side gate of Tenju-an Temple, allowing visitors to slip directly into the heart of the grove before the crowds descend. A hidden gem awaits at the top of the incline in the form of Okochi Sanso Villa, a peaceful retreat that offers magnificent gardens and sweeping city views without the heavy tourist traffic of the imperial villas. The admission fee to this secluded estate includes a serving of traditional hot matcha tea and a Japanese sweet. History permeates the nearby extension of the grove at Nonomiya Shrine, a sacred site where imperial daughters once purified themselves before serving as shrine maidens at the legendary Ise Jingu. Transport options through the winding green paths range from a simple leisurely walk to renting a bicycle or hiring a traditional rickshaw for a nostalgic ride. Admission is entirely free, and the gates never close, meaning the site is open 24 hours a day. Though the narrow path can become notoriously congested during peak hours. Early risers who arrive at dawn are rewarded with the true magic of the forest, capturing the soft morning light and the haunting sound of bamboo stalks creaking in the wind in total solitude. Seasonal shifts constantly redefine the landscape, bringing fresh shoots in spring, a cool canopy in summer, luminous foliage in autumn. The sprawling metropolis of Tokyo stands as the world's most populous city, encompassing a massive network of 23 central wards, western suburbs, and even remote island chains like Izu and Ogasawara. History originally identified this area as Edo, a humble castle town that rapidly transformed into a political powerhouse after Tokugawa Ieyasu established his feudal government there in 1603. The Meiji Restoration of 1868 marked a pivotal turning point for the nation, as the emperor relocated the capital from Kyoto and renamed the city Tokyo, meaning Eastern Capital. Resilience defines the city's modern character, for it has miraculously risen from the ashes twice. In the last century following the devastation of the Great Kanto earthquake and the air raids of World War II. Contemporary Tokyo offers a limitless buffet of sensory experiences, seamlessly blending the futuristic shopping and entertainment districts of Shinjuku with the historic solemnity of ancient temples in Asakusa. Concrete skyscrapers may dominate the vast skyline, yet the city surprisingly harbours lush green sanctuaries and accessible parks that defy the common stereotype of a suffocating urban jungle. The horizon's most nostalgic beacon is undoubtedly Tokyo Tower, instantly recognisable by its bold white and orange lattice structure that pierces the clouds as a symbol of the post-war rebirth. This broadcasting spire serves as much more than just a transmitter, inviting visitors to ascend to its upper observation decks for breathtaking panoramic views of the endless metropolitan ocean. The area at the base of the tower keeps the energy alive with Foot Town, a lively commercial complex filled with souvenir shops and restaurants for those preferring to stay closer to the ground. Seasonal rhythms dictate the atmosphere here, shifting from the mild cherry blossom-filled days of spring to the sweltering, humid storms of summer and the refreshingly cool, crisp air of autumn. Winter finally settles in with dry, cold days bringing rare and magical dustings of snow. Which region are you curious about? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you there in the next video. Tokyo's oldest spiritual sanctuary lies in the heart of Asakusa, serving as a colourful anchor to the city's ancient past. Legend dictates that the temple's origin dates back to the year 628, when two fishermen pulled a golden statue of Kannon, the goddess of mercy, from the nearby Sumida River. The brothers repeatedly returned the sacred figure to the water, yet it miraculously drifted back to their boat every time, compelling them to enshrine it on land. The massive Kaminarimon, or Thunder Gate, now marks the entrance to this sacred ground, standing as the definitive symbol of Asakusa. A giant red lantern weighing 700 kilograms dominates the gate, flanked by the fierce deities of wind and thunder who stand guard against evil spirits. Beyond the gate lies Nakamais Dori, a bustling 200-metre shopping arcade that has catered to pilgrims for centuries. The inner gate that protects the temple's treasures and opens into the main hall. Worshippers gather around the central cauldron to waft healing incense smoke over their bodies before offering prayers to the hidden goddess. Sunset transforms the bustling grounds into a realm of quiet beauty, as illuminations light up the vermilion structures against the night sky until 11 p.m. The sheer scale of Todaiji Temple in Nara often defies belief, standing as a monumental testament to the power of 8th century Buddhism. Emperor Shomu commissioned this massive complex in 752 to serve as the headquarters for all provincial temples. a move that made the institution so politically dominant that the capital eventually had to be moved just to escape its influence. The main hall, known as the Daiyuzan, held the title of the world's largest wooden building for centuries, as it's been forever, even though the current 1,692 reconstruction is merely 2/3 the size of the original masterpiece. Inside this wooden cavern sits the Daibutsu, a 15-metre tall bronze colossus representing Vairocana Buddha that gazes down with an expression of eternal serenity. Visitors circling the statue inevitably gather around a specific wooden pillar featuring a hole at its base, famously carved to the exact dimensions of the great Buddha's nostril. Folklore promises that anyone slim enough to squeeze through this narrow opening will be granted enlightenment in their next life, leading to amusing scenes of travellers struggling for spiritual salvation. The approach to the inner sanctum is guarded by the Nandaimon Gate, where two fierce, muscular Neo-Guardian statues stare down anyone daring to enter. Sacred deer from the adjacent Nara Park wander freely through these gates, bowing politely to tourists in exchange for Shika Senbei crackers. Beyond the main hall, the temple grounds expand into a sprawling network of sub-temples and treasure houses that cover much of northern Nara Park. A stone path leads uphill to the Nigatsudo Hall, a quieter balcony structure that offers breathtaking panoramic views over the city, especially during the sunset. The ambitious warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi broke ground on Osaka Castle in 1583, intending it to be the majestic centerpiece of a newly unified Japan. His grand vision was short-lived, however, as the rival Tokugawa clan besieged and burned the fortress to the ground in 1615, extinguishing the Toyotomi lineage forever. The Tokugawa shogunate eventually rebuilt the stronghold in the 1620s, only for a catastrophic lightning strike in 1665 to incinerate the main keep once again. Centuries of absence ended in 1931 with the construction of the current ferro-concrete tower, which miraculously stood firm while World War II air raids flattened the rest of the city around it. The exterior maintains a formidable feudal aesthetic, but the interior is entirely modern, featuring an elevator that whisks visitors up to a high-tech history museum dedicated to Hideyoshi's life. The top floor offers an open-air observation deck, providing a bird's-eye view that starkly juxtaposes the ancient green roof tiles against the steel skyscrapers of the modern business district. A recent addition to the grounds is the Toyotomi Stone Wall Museum, opened in 2025 to showcase the original foundations that the Tokugawa regime had spitefully buried deep underground. Massive stone walls and wide moats surround the central tower, creating a sprawling park that serves as a popular recreational space for runners and tourists alike. The adjacent Nishinomaru Garden transforms into a pink wonderland in spring, boasting 600 cherry trees that frame the castle in one of the city's most photographed scenes. Smart travellers purchase e-tickets in advance to bypass the notoriously long queues that form at the entrance, especially during the peak sakura season. If you've been here before, comment number 9. If not, comment number 7. The mystic forests of Minami-Ashigara conceal a sanctuary where Buddhist devotion intertwines with the supernatural folklore of the Tengu. Daiyuzan Saijoji Temple stands as a breathtaking fortress of Soto Zen Buddhism, established over 6 centuries ago within a grove of ancient trees. Nature itself serves as the temple walls, with approximately 170,000 towering Japanese cedars creating a dense green canopy that filters the sunlight. A perpetual cool breeze flows through these giant trunks even during the heat of summer, washing away the mental clutter of every visitor who enters. History credits the Zen master Ryoan Emyo with founding this spiritual site. Though legends claim he was aided by a mysterious monk named Doryo, who later transformed into a Tengu to protect the temple forever. The sprawling precincts contain over 30 distinct halls and towers, including a main hall designed by the celebrated Showa-era architect Chuta Ito. The most striking visual feature here is the collection of massive gaita, or wooden clogs, which are dedicated to these winged goblin guardians of the mountain. These wooden sandals range from standard size to colossal structures as tall as a human being, symbolising the immense power of the spirits who are said to wear them. Photographers and worshippers alike flock to this unique spot, believing that the red giant clogs bring marital harmony and good business fortune. The temple functions as a living centre of practice rather than a mere museum, offering public Zen meditation sessions on alternating Sundays for those seeking inner silence. The architectural masterpiece known as Byodoin Temple was originally conceived not as a place of worships, but as a luxurious countryside retreat for the powerful Fujiwara no Michinaga in 998. His son later transformed the private villa into a religious sanctuary, commissioning the construction of its most legendary feature, the spectacular Phoenix Hall. This structure earned its nickname almost immediately after its completion in 1053. Owing to its architectural layout resembling a bird in flight and the pair of bronze phoenixes perched upon the roof. Every pocket in Japan carries a miniature version of this facade, as the hall's iconic silhouette has been immortalised on the back of the 10-yen coin since 1951. Standing today as one of the few original wooden survivors of the Heian period. The temple grounds and the surrounding pond were deliberately designed to physically manifest the Buddhist Pure Land paradise on Earth, influencing the layout of gardens across the country for generations. The interior of the hall houses a magnificent seated statue of the Amida Buddha. The ancient city of Uji sits quietly between the giants of Kyoto and Nara, serving as a cultural bridge connecting two of Japan's greatest capitals. Green tea defines the very air here, a reputation cemented in the 14th century, when Shogun Ashikaga Yoshimitsu officially championed the region's cultivation. Connoisseurs regard Uji matcha as the finest in the land, a tradition that dates back to the 1200s and continues in tea shops that have operated for generations. The rushing waters of the Uji River slice through the town, creating a dramatic backdrop for the vermilion Kisen-bashi Bridge that leads to the peaceful Tonoshima Island. Literary history pervades these streets as the final 10 chapters of the world's first novel. The tale of Genji are set against this melancholic river landscape. A poignant statue near the Asagiri-bashi Bridge immortalizes this legacy. The cultural heart of Japan's west coast beats strongest in Kanazawa, the capital of Ishikawa Prefecture. The prosperous Edo period transformed this castle town into a rival of Kyoto. Flourishing under the patronage of the wealthy Maeda clan, who poured their fortune into beauty rather than war. Gold leaf remains the city's most glittering signature, with local artisans producing nearly all of the country's supply, even today, to decorate everything from temples to ice cream. The streets themselves serve as living museums, shifting seamlessly from the earthen walls of the Nagamachi samurai district to the wooden lattice fronts of the Higashi Chaya Geisha quarters. The visual of a brilliant vermilion pagoda standing sentinel against the roaring white ribbon of Nachi Falls is arguably the most iconic snapshot of spiritual Japan. Seigantoji Temple physically embodies the harmony between man and nature, sharing its sacred grounds seamlessly with the adjacent Shinto shrine of Kumano Nachi Taisha. Ancient legends trace the site's origins to the 4th century, when an Indian monk named Ragyo Shonin discovered a statue of Kannon hidden within the misty basin of the falls. Centuries of history saw the temple operate as a unique fusion of faiths, blending Buddhist scriptures with the indigenous Shinto worship of the waterfall itself. The vibrant red 3-story pagoda commands attention today, creating a fierce and beautiful contrast against the primeval greens of the surrounding forest. History buffs will appreciate the main hall, Nyurindo, which was rebuilt in 1590 under the orders of the great warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Specific traditions claim that visitors arriving on a special holy day in February can have any wish granted, ranging from wisdom to worldly power. The chilling Edo period expression to jump off the stage of Kiyomizu serves as a lasting Japanese euphemism for taking a massive leap of faith. History records over 200 desperate souls who actually flung themselves from the 13-metre terrace, believing that survival would guarantee the granting of their deepest wish. Authorities have long since banned this lethal practice, meaning visitors today come solely for the dramatic views of the Kyoto cityscape, rather than to witness human plummets. This specific wooden veranda, built without a single nail, dominates postcards as the city's most recognisable architectural silhouette against the hillside. Spiritual seekers flock here not just for the scenery, but for the numerous power spots, dedicated to everything from academic success to romantic longevity. Expectant mothers often direct their prayers toward the bright orange, 3-storied Koyasu Pagoda to ensure a safe and smooth delivery. The steps behind the main hall lead to the Jishu Shrine, a popular sanctuary often called the Cupid of Kyoto for its focus on relationships. A unique challenge awaits the lovesick here, requiring them to walk blindfolded between 2 love stones to divine the future of their romantic endeavours. The temple's very name, which translates to Pure Water Temple, derives from the Ottawa waterfall located at the base of the wooden stage. 3 distinct streams of holy water cascade down into a stone channel, inviting visitors to catch the liquid in long-handled ladles. Legend claims that each stream grants a specific benefit: a long life, success in school, or a fortunate love life. Greed is the enemy of fortune here, as drinking from all three streams is considered bad form and might actually diminish the luck gained. The immense shadow cast by Tokyo often obscures the brilliance of its closest neighbour, Yokohama, a port city that deserves its own spotlight. A mere 30-minute train ride separates the capital from this coastal metropolis, making it an effortlessly accessible escape via the JR Tokaido or Yokosuka lines. History remembers this area as a humble fishing village of just 600 souls before the tides of change arrived in the mid-19th century. The official opening of the port of Yokohama in 1859 shattered that isolation, instantly transforming the quiet hamlet into a roaring engine of international trade. New commodities and ideas flooded the streets alongside foreign merchants, swelling the population to over 120,000 by the time the city government was formally established in 1889. Resilience has become the city's defining trait, as it was forced to rise from the rubble of the 1891 earthquake and the catastrophic Great Kanto earthquake of 1923. The skies turned dark again in 1945 when Allied firebombing reduced much of the urban landscape to ash, necessitating yet another rebirth. Post-war reconstruction took place under the watchful eye of the American military, which utilised the port as a critical naval base during the occupation and the subsequent Korean War. Modern Yokohama has since evolved beyond its maritime roots into a powerhouse of high-tech industry and finance, hosting the global headquarters of giants like Nissan and JVC Kenwood. Visitors today are greeted by a diverse architectural tapestry, ranging from the futuristic skyline of Minato Mirai to the vibrant, bustling alleys of Japan's largest Chinatown. The atmosphere here offers a refreshing counterpoint to Tokyo's frenetic energy, retaining the sophistication of a major metropolis while allowing room to breathe near the ocean. A dense and efficient train network makes navigation simple, connecting these distinct districts in a way that encourages leisurely exploration of Japan's second largest city. The crumbling stone walls of Takeda Castle have earned a legendary reputation as the Machu Picchu of Japan, appearing to float miraculously above the world. Autumn mornings transform the valley below into a vast sea of clouds, creating an illusion where the fortress sits upon a white ocean rather than a solid mountaintop. History traces the stronghold's origins back to 1411, though its fate was sealed when the great unifier Toyotomi Hideyoshi conquered it during his western campaigns. Loyalties to the losing side during the pivotal Battle of Sekigahara in 1600 led to its eventual abandonment, leaving the structure to slowly disintegrate into the earth for centuries. Modern restoration efforts in the 1970s and 80s halted the decay, stabilising the ruins while leaving the imagination to reconstruct the towers that once stood there. The massive stone foundations remain largely intact today, clearly outlining a formidable layout featuring a central fortress with 3 defensive wings radiating outward. Visitors traverse the grounds via a marked one-way path, stopping at various vantage points to admire the sweeping panoramic views of the surrounding mountains and the town of Asago below. The ethereal castle in the sky effect is most elusive and rewarding during October and November, specifically requiring an early rise between 6 and 6:30 a.m. to catch the fog. The most dramatic perspective isn't found on the castle grounds themselves, but from Ritsunkyo, a viewing spot located on the mountain slopes directly opposite the ruins. A car can reach the lower parking lot, but the true reward requires hiking up a steep dirt trail that winds its way toward the sky. Lower observation decks offer decent glimpses, yet the premier photography spots. At viewpoints 1 and 2 demand a strenuous 10 to 40 minute climb to clear the tree line. A modest environmental cooperation fee of 300 yen grants access to this spectacular scene. A small price to pay for witnessing one of Japan's most dreamlike landscapes. The moniker City of Water barely scratches the surface of Osaka, a metropolis defined by 1,000 bridges. And a canal network that once served as the nation's circulatory system. Ancient chronicles identify this land as Nanawa, a seaside settlement dating back 16 centuries. That laid the foundation for the modern giant we see today. The southern districts guard the Mozu Tombs, a UNESCO World Heritage Site of massive keyhole-shaped burial mounds that silently honour the nobility of the 5th century. Commercial dominance later fueled a cultural explosion in the region, birthing the dramatic arts of kabuki theatre and the intricate storytelling of bunraku puppetry. The Meiji Restoration eventually flung the port open to the world, transforming the merchant town into an industrial powerhouse of manufacturing and international trade. World War II reduced much of this progress to ash, yet the city's indomitable spirit fueled a miraculous post-war economic boom that rebuilt the skyline from the ground up. Contemporary skyscrapers now stand shoulder to shoulder with retro architecture, creating a chaotic yet harmonious urban texture that attracts travellers from every corner of the globe. Osaka's most famous reputation, however, is its status as the Kitchen of Japan, living by the motto of Kuidore, to eat oneself into financial ruin. Culinary adventures here range from unpretentious street stalls sizzling with octopus balls and savoury pancakes to high-end establishments holding prestigious Michelin stars. Travel itineraries here are incredibly flexible, catering equally to history buffs seeking ancient temples and urban explorers looking for neon-lit excitement. 2 or 3 days usually provide just enough time to hit the major hallmarks, though the city's energy often convinces visitors to extend their stay. The quiet residential streets of Setagaya hide one of Tokyo's most surreal and beloved sanctuaries, Gotokuji Temple. This Edo period site is widely celebrated as the birthplace of the Maneki Neko, the iconic beckoning cat that has become a global symbol of good luck. Legend dictates that in the early 17th century, a feudal lord named Ai Naotaka Haotu Ronance escaped a violent thunderstorm after being waved inside the temple gate by a mysterious cat. The Lord's subsequent patronage transformed the humble grounds into the prestigious family temple of the Ai clan, cementing the feline's status as a deity of fortune. Thousands of white cat figurines now flood the temple's dedicated altar, donated by worshippers whose prayers for success and safety have been answered. These specific statues are distinct from common souvenir versions. They raise only their right paw and carry no gold coins, symbolising pure luck rather than mere monetary gain. The visual impact of this white, paw-waving army set against the traditional wooden architecture is undeniably photogenic. cat lovers from around the world make the pilgrimage here to purchase their own figurine at the temple office. However, visitors must respect the sanctity of the ritual, as the monks strictly forbid using the dolls as writing surfaces for personal wishes. The correct tradition involves offering the pristine doll to the altar or taking it home to invite good fortune into one's own life. English-speaking staff are often on hand to guide foreign guests through the history, bridging the language gap with genuine hospitality. Ishigaki Island stands as the vibrant beating heart of the remote Hayama archipelago, located 400 kilometres southwest of Okinawa's main island. This lush subtropical paradise is the most populated in the chain, balancing the comforts of a developed city with the raw, untamed beauty of the area-remote Ishigaki National Park. Direct flights from major hubs like Tokyo, Taiwan and Hong Kong make the island an accessible escape into deep blue luxury. A rental car is the essential tool for exploration, as the island's 160-kilometre circumference requires a full day to properly navigate. The northernmost tip offers dramatic solitude at the Hirokubozaki Lighthouse, where white waves crash against jagged cliffs in a mesmerising rhythm. Emerald mountains meet turquoise waters at the Nosokodake Observatory, providing a visual summary of the island's diverse terrain. Evening light transforms the western peninsula at Ogunzaki Lighthouse into a photographer's dream, rivaled only by the aptly named Ishigaki Sunset Beach. Beneath the surface, the southeastern shore protects the Shiraho Reef, home to the Northern Hemisphere's largest community of rare blue coral. Glass-bottom boat tours allow visitors to witness this underwater metropolis without ever getting wet, perfect for those who want to stay dry. Meisado Beach offers a more curated experience with lifeguards and full facilities near the port, yet the ocean here commands respect. The waters can harbour strong currents and the venomous habu jellyfish, particularly during the warmer months from June to October. Smart travellers stick to netted swimming areas and heed the English warning signs, ensuring their tropical adventure remains a safe and unforgettable memory. The caldera of an ancient volcano holds the sapphire waters of Lake Ashi, the undisputed centerpiece of the Hakone region. Born from a violent eruption over 3,000 years ago, this massive crater lake has settled into a serene stillness, feeding the Hayakawa River as it flows toward the Pacific. Travellers flock here primarily for one legendary sight: the reflection of Mount Fuji's snow-capped cone, towering over the blue water on a clear day. The lake itself is a stage for spectacle, crisscrossed by whimsical pirate ships and leisure boats that ferry passengers between the bustling ports of Togendai and Moto Hakone. These vessels offer more than just whimsy. They provide a crucial escape from the weekend traffic, while serving up uninterrupted panoramas of the surrounding green mountains. From the deck, eyes are inevitably drawn to the floating Gates of Peace, the vermilion torii of Hakone Shrine that rises mystically from the waves. This sacred site carries over 1,200 years of history, steeped in legends of nine-headed dragons and samurai warriors who once prayed here for victory. On land, the best way to absorb the atmosphere is by foot, wandering the cedar-lined paths that connect historic sites and tasty local food stalls along the shore. For a higher perspective, the ropeways at Togandai and Hakonian lift visitors into the sky, offering sweeping angles of the caldera that ground-level views simply cannot match. Adventure seekers can trade the large ferries for rental swan boats to explore at their own pace, or cast a line to enjoy the area's rich fishing culture. Summer brings a fiery transformation to the cool waters during the week-long Lake Ashi festival, a celebration of fireworks and tradition held from late July to early August. The event culminates in a breathtaking finale where floating torii gates are set ablaze, illuminating the dark lake in a mesmerizing dance of fire and water. The Tsugaru clan firmly established their legacy in 1611 with the construction of Hirosaki Castle, a fortress that has miraculously withstood the tests of time and war. While the original 5-story donjon was lost to a lightning strike in 1627, the current structure stands as a rare and authentic survivor. This 3-story keep, rebuilt in 1810, holds the distinction of being the only original castle tower in the entire Tohoku region that has not been reconstructed using modern concrete. Surrounding this historic core is Hirosaki Park, a sprawling green expanse that serves as the city's cultural heart and arguably Japan's premier cherry blossom destination. Springtime transforms the grounds into a pink fantasy, boasting over 2,500 trees that create suffocatingly beautiful tunnels and blanket the moats with fallen petals to form famous sakura carpets. The southwestern foothills of Mount Fuji conceal the breathtaking Shiraito Falls, a natural wonder named for the delicate white streams that resemble hanging threads of silk. Volcanic spring water feeds this massive 150-metre wide cascade, creating a curtain of liquid that flows gently off the edge of a 20-metre cliff. A short, accessible walking trail guides visitors from the road to the basin, passing a lively row of souvenir shops along the descent. The path also offers a glimpse of the nearby Otterdome Falls, a thundering 25-metre column of water that stands in powerful contrast to its graceful neighbour. Summer serves as the ideal season for visiting, as the winter snowmelt from Mount Fuji swells the volume of the water while the surrounding forest reaches its peak green lushness. Autumn provides a spectacular alternative in mid-November, when the fiery red foliage frames the white water in a stunning display of colour. Deep in the frozen forests of the Jigokudani Valley, a surreal phenomenon unfolds amidst the rising steam. This is the exclusive domain of the Japanese macaque, the famous snow monkey, the only wild primate on Earth that has mastered the art of spa culture. While the park welcomes visitors year-round, the definitive experience happens in the dead of winter, when the valley is buried in white and the troop descends from the cliffs to escape the biting cold. Central to this ritual is a steaming, man-made pool where the monkeys gather, offering a front row seat to a social structure that looks startlingly human. Watching them groom, argue, and doze off in the hot water creates an uncanny connection, as they are so accustomed to our presence that they simply ignore the cameras pointed at their red faces. Despite this proximity, the illusion of a petting zoo is strictly dispelled. Touching or feeding them is forbidden to respect their wild nature. High in the remote hills of western Arashiyama, 1,200 stone faces stare back at you from the mossy earth, creating a scene that is equal parts surreal and heartwarming. This is Otagi Nenbutsuji, a temple that stands today, not because of luck, but in spite of it. Originally built in 770 in the Higashiyama district, the structure was completely washed away by river floods, rebuilt, and then neglected until it was physically dismantled and moved here in 1922 to save it from ruin. Even then, the curse seemed to follow, as a devastating typhoon in 1950 nearly wiped it off the map again, leaving the temple struggling to find its identity. Salvation finally arrived in the 1980s, not through a wealthy patron, but through a unique community project. The result is an astonishing open-air gallery where the sculptors' personalities bleed into the stone, because they were carved by amateurs rather than masters. The statues break every rule of traditional iconography, displaying a raw, unfiltered humanity. As you wander the rows, the solemnity of a typical temple dissolves into joy. You will find monks throwing their heads back in laughter, cradling pets, or pouring drinks for their neighbours. The playfulness even extends to modern anachronisms hidden in plain sight. On the breezy shores of the Miura Peninsula lies a sanctuary, where the fate of modern Japan once shifted in a single heartbeat. This is the site of the former imperial villa, where Emperor Yoshihito sought healing before his sudden passing in 1925, marking the solemn transition to the Showa era. Today, that imperial legacy has been transformed into Hayama Shiosai Koen Park, a space where history breathes through the pine trees and the salt air. Entering the grounds feels like stepping into a living painting, exquisitely landscaped with maples and hydrangeas that frame a koi-filled pond. The design is a masterclass in traditional aesthetics, featuring a stone bridge that invites visitors to pause and look out toward the spectacular expanse of Sagami Bay. The soundscape here is dominated by the Fuke no Taki, a 3-metre waterfall that cascades in two distinct styles, one flowing smooth as cloth, the other clinging ruggedly to the rocks. Imagine stepping directly into a frame of art, where the world mimics the brushstrokes of a master painter from 2 centuries ago. In Obuchi Sasaba, vibrant ribbons of green tea bushes stretch toward the horizon, leading the eye perfectly to the snow-capped majesty of Mount Fuji. This breathtaking tableau is no accident. It echoes the timeless beauty captured by Katsushika Hokusai in his legendary 36 Views of Mount Fuji series. As the morning sunlight spills across the fields, illuminating fresh shoots glistening with dew, that melodic call of a bush warbler confirms that this landscape is very much alive. The beauty here is rooted in geology, as the mineral-rich soil, born from Fuji's ancient eruptions, fuels the growth of Japan's finest tea. Shizuoka's complex microclimates, defined by morning mists and shifting sun, subtly alter the flavour profile of every harvest, making each cup a reflection of its specific environment. Visitors are invited to taste this terroir firsthand, with plantations like Amamiya and Grimpia offering tours, where you can sip fresh sencha and matcha just steps from the earth that nourished it. Since Mount Fuji was named a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site in 2013. The community has worked tirelessly to preserve this iconic view, enhancing the area with modern amenities while protecting its rustic charm. For the ultimate experience, travellers should aim for spring, when the first flush of tea leaves turns the hills into a neon green spectacle. Those lucky enough to visit during the World Tea Festival or the Kanaya Tea Festival will witness a vibrant celebration of this agricultural heritage. Today, local farmers are pushing the craft even further, embracing organic methods to ensure the land remains pristine for future generations. For over 13 centuries, the arrival of spring in Japan has been defined by the pink tides of a single legendary slope in Nara Prefecture. Mount Yoshino is not merely a mountain, it is a living canvas of 30,000 cherry trees. That has served as the nation's premier hanami destination since ancient times. Unlike a typical peak, Yoshino is a vast north-facing incline divided into 4 distinct theatres: the lower, middle, upper and inner zones. This unique geography creates a slow-motion explosion of colour, where the blossom front begins at the base and creeps upward, staggering the full bloom over several weeks. Because of this vertical journey, it is theoretically impossible to see the entire mountain in peak bloom at once. But this ensures that the viewing season lasts far longer than anywhere else in the country. The pilgrimage begins at Shimo-senbon, the lower 1,000 trees, where visitors weave through a bustling tourist town filled with temples and shrines. As you ascend to the Naka and Kami levels, the crowds thin and the vistas widen, offering legendary viewpoints like Yoshimizu and the high-altitude Hanayagura. From these heights, the world below looks like a soft ocean of white and pink clouds, a view that has inspired emperors and poets for a millennium. The final frontier is the Oku-senbon, the inner 1,000 near the summit, which blooms last and offers a quiet, spiritual solitude far removed from the festival atmosphere below. For the weary hiker, the return trip can be eased by a bus ride down, offering one last sweeping look at the canopy. With a history dating back to 1924, Nozawa Onsen Ski Resort proves that age is just a number when it is buried under 10 metres of legendary powder. While it stands as one of Japan's oldest winter playgrounds, the facility is anything but a relic, boasting modern high-speed gondolas that whisper up the slopes of Mount Kanashi. The mountain offers a staggering 50 kilometres of terrain, ranging from gentle, winding beginner paths to a heart-stopping 39-degree incline that challenges even the most hardened pros. Its pedigree is undeniable, having hosted the biathlon during the 1998 Winter Olympics. And today it continues that legacy with a massive snowpark and halfpipe for freestyle enthusiasts. Powder hounds can dive deeper into the famous Japao through backcountry tours led by international guides, exploring the silent deep woods beyond the groomed tracks. Yet the magic of Nozawa extends far beyond the pistes, as the ski resort bleeds seamlessly into a historic village that feels frozen in time. While the neon streets of Tokyo and the ancient alleys of Kyoto overflow with millions of visitors, a silent wonderland awaits just 200 miles to the north. This is Yamagata Prefecture, a rural treasure chest opened by barely 1% of travellers, yet containing every element that makes Japan legendary. Winter here is not just a season, but a spectacle, burying the landscape in some of the deepest snowfalls on Earth and transforming Mount Zawa into a premier playground for skiers. For those seeking magic, the hot spring town of Ginzan Onsen appears like a vision from a fairy tale. Its gaslit wooden ryokans glowing warmly against the freezing white night. Spiritual seekers can ascend to the sacred heights of Yamadera and Dewa Senzan, where atmospheric temples cling to cliffsides, offering silence and salvation in equal measure. After days of exploration, the ultimate reward lies in sinking into one of the country's finest outdoor hot springs, letting the mineral waters wash away the fatigue of the journey. Navigating the rural quiet of Mie Prefecture rewards the intrepid traveller with a coastline that feels like a living page of Japanese mythology. Here, along the windswept shores of Ise City, lies a destination that condenses the region's spiritual charm into a single, breathtaking walk. The journey begins at the Futami Okatama Shrine, a quirky and mystical sanctuary guarded by countless stone frog statues that watch over the faithful. Before approaching the sea, visitors cleanse themselves at a fountain dedicated to Ryujin, the dragon god, where holy water pours from the stony mouth of the beast to purify the soul. Just beyond the shrine, the true icons of the coast emerge from the waves, the Meoto Iwa, or the famous Wedded Rocks. The origins of Gujo Hachiman Castle trace back to the turbulent Warring States period. Specifically, 1559 when the warlord Endo Morikazu established this stronghold atop the mountain. Political shifts following the Meiji Restoration led to the abolition of feudal domains in 1871, resulting in the heartbreaking demolition of the main structure the very next year. The ancient stone walls managed to survive this era of modernisation, standing firm today as designated historical properties that whisper tales of the past. A dedicated reconstruction effort in 1933 restored the castle keep, distinguishing itself from most modern Japanese reproductions by utilising traditional timber rather than cold concrete. Authenticity defines the exterior architecture, though the interior layout was altered during the rebuilding process and does not strictly follow the original feudal design. The strategic location offers visitors a commanding, panoramic view of the historic castle town sprawling across the valley floor below. Maple trees envelop the white fortress in a sea of vibrant red and orange, creating a spectacular natural contrast that reaches its peak beauty in early to mid-November. Step through the subtle entrance just south of Nanzenji's towering Sanmen Gate, and the noise of the crowds instantly vanishes, replaced by the hushed sanctity of a secret garden. This is Tenju-an, a sub-temple that feels less like a tourist destination and more like a private whisper, remaining blissfully quiet for everyone except the November-autumn chasers. A paved alley guides you over a small bridge and through a shadowed porch, leading you effortlessly toward the main hall in just a few strides. To the left lies the East Garden, a masterpiece of Karasansui-dry landscape design, where geometric stones and velvet moss rise from a sea of white gravel. Here, the main hall's wooden veranda invites you to sit in stillness. offering a front row seat to a landscape that commands you to slow down and breathe. Travelling through Japan offers a rare blend of ancient traditions and cutting-edge modern life, creating experiences that feel both timeless and exciting. From tranquil temples to neon-lit city streets, every corner reveals a different side of the country's unique character. The warmth and politeness of the people make each journey feel welcoming and deeply memorable. Japan's landscapes, changing beautifully with the seasons, add a poetic touch to every adventure. Long after the trip ends, the spirit of Japan continues to linger in the hearts of those who have explored it.